The Charles Bridge is a famous historic bridge that crosses the Vltava River in Prague, Czech Republic. Its construction started in 1357 under the auspices of King Charles IV, and finished in the beginning of the 15th century. The bridge replaced the old Judith Bridge built 1158–1172 that had been badly damaged by a flood in 1342. This new bridge was originally called the Stone Bridge or the Prague Bridge but has been the Charles Bridge since 1870. As the only means of crossing the river Vltava until 1841, the Charles Bridge was the most important connection between Prague Castle and the city's old town and adjacent areas. This solid land connection made Prague important as a trade route between Eastern and Western Europe. The bridge is 621 meters long and nearly 10 meters wide, resting on 16 arches shielded by ice guards. It is protected by 3 bridge towers, 2 of them on the lesser quarter side and the third one on the Old Town side. The Old Town Bridge Tower is often considered to be one of the most astonishing civil Gothic-style buildings in the world. The bridge is decorated by a continuous alley of 30 statues and statuaries, most of them baroque-style, originally erected around 1700 but now all replaced by replicas. History through the 19th century. Throughout its history, the Charles Bridge suffered several disasters and witnessed many historic events. Czech legend has it that construction began on Charles Bridge at 5:31 a.m. on July 9, 1357 with the first stone being laid by Charles IV himself. This exact time was very important to the Holy Roman Emperor because he was a strong believer of numerology and this specific time, which formed a numerical bridge, would imbue Charles Bridge with additional strength. Given the bridge's long life, perhaps the emperor's belief holds some weight, though the bridge has seen its fair share of the tragedy. A flood in 1432 damaged 3 pillars. In 1496 the third arch broke down after one of the pillars lowered, being undermined by the water. A year after the Battle of White Mountain, when the 27 leaders of the anti-Habsburg revolt were executed on June 21, 1621, the Old Town Bridge Tower served as a deterrent display of the severed heads of the victims to stop Czechs from further resistance. During the end of the 30 Years' War in 1648, the Swedes occupied the west bank of the Vltava, and as they tried to advance into the Old Town the heaviest fighting took place right on the bridge. During the fighting, they severely damaged one side of the Old Town Bridge Tower and the remnants of almost all Gothic decorations had to be removed from it afterward. During the late 17th century and early 18th century the bridge gained its typical appearance when an alley of Baroque statues was installed on the pillars. During a great flood in 1784, 5 pillars were severely damaged and although the arches did not break down, the traffic on the bridge had to be greatly restricted for some time. The original stairway to Campen Island was replaced by a new one in 1844. The next year, another great flood threatened the bridge, but the bridge escaped major damage. In 1848, during the Revolutionary days, the bridge escaped unharmed from the cannonade, but some of the statues were damaged. In 1866, pseudo-Gothic gas lights were erected on the balustrade. They were later replaced with electric lighting. In the 1870s, the first regular public transport line went over the bridge, later replaced by a horse tram. The bridge towers underwent a thorough reconstruction between 1874 and 1883. On to September 5, 1890, another disastrous flood struck Prague and severely damaged the Charles Bridge. Thousands of rafts, logs and other floating materials that escaped from places upstream gradually formed a huge barrier leaning against the bridge. 3 arches were torn down by the great pressure and 2 pillars collapsed from being undermined by the water, while others were partly damaged. With the 5th pillar, 2 statues St. Ignatius of Loyola and St. Xavier, both by Ferdinand Brückhoff also fell into the river. The former statue was replaced by a statuary of Saints Cyril and Methodius by Karol Dvo unregistered trademark AK. The latter was replaced by a replica of the original. Repair works lasted for 2 years and cost 665,000 crowns. 20th century to present. In the beginning of the 20th century, the Charles Bridge saw a steep rise of heavy traffic. The last day of the horse line on the bridge was May 15, 1905, when it was replaced with an electric tram and later, in 1908, with buses. At the end of World War II, a barricade was built in the Old Town Bridge Tower Gateway. A capital repair of the bridge took place between 1965 and 1978, based on a collaboration among various scientific and cultural institutes. The stability of the pillars was reassured, all broken stone blocks were replaced, and the asphalt top was removed. All vehicular traffic has been excluded from the Charles Bridge since then, making it accessible by pedestrians only. The repair cost £50 million. During the 1990s, some people started criticizing the previous reconstruction of the bridge and proposing further work. As of the beginning of the new millennium, most of the experts appeared to agree that the previous reconstruction had not been flawless but disputed the need for further interference with the bridge. However, after the disastrous floods of 2002, support for an overall bridge reconstruction grew. It was decided that repair and stabilization of the two pillars on the Malostranna side of the bridge would be done. These are the only river pillars that were not repaired after the 1890 floods. The reconstruction was a gradual process that closed off parts of the bridge without closing the span entirely. Performed from 2008 to 2010, the work included bolstering the pillars and building a new hydro-insulation system protecting the bridge. It also encompassed the replacement of many of the stones in the bridge walls, a matter which was controversial due to a heavy-handed approach adopted by the restoration team. The result has been criticized by conservation professionals all over Europe. Dozens of new replacement stones do not match the historical ones they are next to. Statues on the bridge. The avenue of 30 mostly baroque statues and statuaries situated on the balustrade forms a unique connection of artistic styles with the underlying Gothic bridge. Most sculptures were erected between 1683 and 1714. They depict various saints and patron saints venerated at that time. The most prominent Bohemian sculptors of the time took part in decorating the bridge, such as Matthias Braun, Jan Brakov, and his sons Michael Joseph and Ferdinand Maximilian. Among the most notable sculptures, one can find the statuaries of St. Luthgard, the Holy Crucifix and Calvary, and St. John of Nepomuk. Well known also is the statue of the Knight Brunkevaque, although it was erected some 200 years later and does not belong to the main avenue. Beginning in 1965, all of the statues have been systematically replaced by replicas, and the originals have been exhibited in the lapidarium of the National Museum. Picture gallery. References. External links: a panorama of the bridge, photos of inappropriate work to the bridge and online petition, official museum of the Charles Bridge, a webcam of the Charles Bridge photography, Charles Bridge at Statuary.